Hi friends, Shauna here, and I wanted to talk to you about something that's kind of close to my heart, especially because I am a digital illustrator. I create printable content and physical content for scrapbooking companies and for my own business. And one of the most important things to me in my creative process is that I am incorporating my own work into the things I do. Not only because I love what I create, but also because the things that I design come from my heart. And so when the end of the month comes and I have all of these sample printables that I've printed out, I really do feel this calling inside of my soul to incorporate these things into whatever it is that I'm going to work on for my own creative purposes, especially in my own art journal. Now, even if you're not an illustrator that designs all of these things, one of the beautiful things about digital printables is that you can buy them and print them on demand. I've got links to my shops below for you friends. But also, you can print them again and again, so they're not a limited resource, which makes them a really great commodity in your like creative practice. Plus, so many of us probably have piles of printed things that we would like to put to use and we don't know what to do with them. So why don't I just give you a quick idea right here? Sometimes I think it's hard to connect the concept of art journaling, which is really, for me at least, it's messy and it's painterly. It's happening right there on the page, with the concept of scrapbooking, which is more layered and involves like physical details. And so I've been working for a while on ways to make this sort of thing feel like it belongs with a page that looks like this. And one of my biggest tips is layering. So let's change the page and I'm going to show you what I mean when you want to incorporate printables. Layering can be such a great technique because one thing that happens when you take a bunch of designs that are on solid paper like this and you start stacking them on top of each other is they start to feel a little bit artistic in of themselves. They start to pull on this artistic quality. Now, layering does not work as well with sticker paper, especially clear sticker paper. It has a whole different effect. But when you are working with cardstock stickers, or sometimes I've seen people do this with vellum, it gives it this like playful, it takes something that feels a little bit more digital or modern, and it like clean, and it creates something a little bit more playful out of it. I could go on and on and on about layering, and at some point I promise you I will be sharing more about that. But I want to encourage you, as you are trying to pull your printables into your journal, to start to pile them up a little bit so that you can create a bit of a design element out of your printable itself. You can do things like tucking into, this is tucked into a stapled alphabet, or you can do things like stitching and sewing together. But whatever you do, make sure that you're getting a few things kind of clustered together so you can get this rich layered feel. And let me show you, it just adds a whole nother dimension to a page that already had a lot of depth, but it was like a one media type of depth, right? And as soon as I add these layers of printables, it gets a little bit more intricate and interesting. And I think actually it feels even more of, it pulls in even more of that like art journaling playful energy that I love so much. Another tip that I would give you for getting those printables in your art journal, which you can see on this page, are to use things like staples and stitching, and not only glue. Sure, you can glue things down, and that works and has its own feel, but man, when you staple things on and stitch them messily like this, who wants to learn how to stitch super messy like this? Because I could teach you that if you want to know. I can't teach you how to stitch clean though, so don't ask me that. But notice how the staples have added a little bit of extra dimension and a little bit of extra texture to this page, which adds to its art journal vibe, and I love it so much. I often, when I am trying to use a printable card, especially a printable card as a form of journaling, a place to put my journaling, I often create one of these little tuck rows. I don't know what they're called, but I create a little space with a strip of paper to tuck my printable right in. Notice once again, I also layered, I also stitched down. Now I've taken this really messy painterly feel and incorporated it more with these cleaner designs. These designs did not stay clean, however, though, because when I was painting this page, I got a little messy. In the end, I think it was perfect, but I do want to take a minute to warn you in this moment that if you are a person who prints at home on your inkjet printer, please know that your printables will not be water safe. So they will like bleed, and the ink will not stay in place if you get it wet, if you printed it on an inkjet printer. So you'll notice I'm not doing watercolor on top of these pages. And actually, a lot of times on top of my printables, I don't even add any paint. But if I do, I make sure it's something nice and dry, like acrylic, nice and thick, that isn't going to ruin my ink. The other fun thing that I really love to do with printables is to use them in abstract ways. You could cut out some prints and then use them, like I did here, as the center of my flowers. On this page, I don't know if any of these are my actual printables, but the same concept where it's like just stacked up messy torn elements and bits that came from my stash. So no matter what you are going to put your printables on, one important part is to make sure that you're looking at the colors involved and trying to find color families that feel nice together. You want to create a cohesive look while adding this extra level of embellishment. The final thing that I would just encourage you to do is to play around. See how much extra texture you can get in. See how much, let's go back here because I know I have another one back here. See how you can use things like pockets and little ephemera, like this little ticket here, just to add an extra something to a page that, like, this page would have been beautiful on its own. But as soon as I started adding these extra details, these extra little printable bits, I created something that has a much more like a much more detailed and filled sort of a feel. And just keep going. One of the beauties of art journaling is that if you paint stuff down and you find it's not going, you can do all sorts of things. Like I used these printables to cover up a lot of my paint on my bottom row because I felt like it wasn't very cohesive. I also went over dark on this background, and so in order to help solve that problem, I added these white flowers to try to kind of like fill a little bit more space. That, my friends, is what I have to tell you. It's not rocket science, which I think is probably one of my favorite things to say about art in general, because I think we overcomplicate these things so often. We think we have to have this amazing strategy and we have to have this perfect product and what kind of glue do I need? And the truth is like you could just staple an envelope down to a page and tuck some printables in it, and you will have gotten some extra use out of those products that you already have on hand. So get creative. Think of your printables as an option for building up from your page, and you will be surprised at what a beautiful impact they have on your art journals as a whole. That's all, friends. Happy journaling. Get those printables, cut them out, and start tucking and stitching and fastening them into your books and see what comes out. Thanks, friends.